Welcome to the Self-Reliant Living Show, where we talk all about a self-reliant lifestyle to save money, live greener, eat healthier, and be prepared for anything so you can take care of the ones you love in good times and bad. I'm your host, Jennifer Osich, a homeschooling mom of 3 boys. I'm the author of the Preparedness Planner series, and my husband and I are the lead teachers of Self-Reliant School, a website dedicated to giving you the skills and confidence to take care of yourself and your community. Be sure to stop by and pick up your free videos from inside Self-Reliant School that will get you started growing, cooking, and preserving your own food today. You can pick these up at selfreliantschool.com/free. Now, on with the show. Welcome to the Self-Reliant Living Show. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Today we're going to be talking about how to get kids to help in the kitchen. And so I have my notes in front of me here, and then I have comments over here. And so when I'm looking down, that is what I'm doing. I am looking at what you guys are talking about. So if you are just joining us, welcome to you. And please let me know that you are there in the comments. If your children already help in the kitchen, let me know what they do. If you would like them to do more, let me know that as well, because I'm monitoring the comments here. And rest assured that I will get to all of them, even if it's not during the show, because I will go through every comment later on and answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so Wendy, hi Wendy. She is saying that hers helps with cooking and cleaning and just started to help with canning. And her kids are 12, 14, and 15. And she's in Pennsylvania. Hi. Okay, we're going to get into that and some age ranges too. So I just mentioned this a minute ago, but I titled this show, How to Get Kids to Help in the Kitchen. But it really should be for us self-reliant types, right? It really should be how to get kids to help feed themselves or to go ahead and take control of their food. Because we're going to talk a little bit about not only cooking, and cleaning, which is what most people think of when they think of the kitchen, but we're also going to talk about some preserving and some gardening. So just know that as we go along. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to mention is safety, right? So that is the most important thing that you should be teaching your kids in the kitchen is safety. So the thing is that might look like you sitting down with them and actually going over some safety procedures if it has to do with maybe canning or just working the stove, right? Especially if it's a gas stove, because there's an open flame there. So that might look like that, you actually sit down and talk to them and say, okay, well, these are the rules and these are the procedures. And then also, safety should be in everyday conversation, right? So you should always be reminding them of the safety procedures as you're going through the different things that you're doing in the kitchen. Okay, so that is definitely something that we do all the time. We emphasize safety, and for our little ones that are just learning how to cook, like on the stovetop or something like that, we always have somebody else in the kitchen as well, either an older child or one of Bill and I in the kitchen in terms of safety, because we want to, not only do we want to monitor them, but we also want to be there quickly in case there is some sort of accident. So safety should be the first consideration when you have your kids come into the kitchen. Okay, so what does kids helping in the kitchen mean for you? What does that mean, right? Does it mean they're going to come in and do everything for you? Well, not at first, but we'll get there. Okay, so of course this question, if you're asking yourself this question, it just depends. It depends on the age of your children. Of course, young children are going to be, they're going to be a handful in the kitchen if they're 2 to 3 years old. Obviously, a toddler is going to want to explore and do lots of things that might require some supervision and cleanup on your part. But the thing about it is, the sooner you get them acclimated to what goes on in the kitchen, the sooner that they really will be a real help to you. Okay, so your attitude and patience Oh my gosh, this is so key, because there are going to be times when you just need to get dinner on and you need everybody to get out of the kitchen, so you can do that. And that is definitely okay. And that is not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about mindfully, purposely having your kids come in and help. So don't feel guilty if that is the case for you tonight or whenever, because that's okay. And we all have those days. But the thing is that when you bring your kids into the kitchen, you're going to have to understand that obviously, right, they're kids, and so they're going to make a mess and they're going to make mistakes. So the thing is that if you have that in mind before they come in, then you're going to be more at peace as to what's going to happen. And this was a big thing for me in terms of having my boys come into the kitchen. I have learned so much about really one thing that has helped me with them coming in and doing things is it has made me look at the way that I have done things, and the procedures that I'm trying to teach them sometimes don't work for them. And just because I did it that way for years and years and years doesn't mean that it's the best way to teach somebody. And I've really learned that by having to teach somebody what I was doing, right? And so it's really helped me to look at my own procedures and what I've been doing, and then to make them better. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that I have 3 boys, so it has really helped me understand that a messy kitchen is okay, and it can be cleaned up, and it is okay, and I will survive. So the thing is that when you bring your kids into the kitchen, your attitude and your patience are going to overflow, and they are going to make a great impression on them. So just be mindful of that, and know that through that experience, you could grow just like I did, because, like I said, I have learned so many things about what I was doing through them, because I've looked at it through their eyes. So if you are just joining us, welcome to you. We are talking about ways to get kids to help in the kitchen. We're talking about kids helping in the kitchen, what that means to you. And if your kids already help in the kitchen, let me know what they do in the comments. And then if they don't, let me know some of the things you would like help with in the kitchen. Okay, so here's another thing that this might mean for you, and that is that you might turn your kitchen into a classroom, because there are so many math lessons and science lessons to be learned in the kitchen. Canning is a complete science lesson in and of itself. There's a ton of different math situations that you would be in, and so the thing is that if you think about that just even a little bit beforehand, sometimes even on the fly, you can just have a teachable moment. And so the thing is, by mentioning it, I want you to be aware of that, and so that can help drive you onward, right? Because it is a lot of work at first. It is a lot of work to have those little ones in there and watching them constantly, but the rewards are just going to be so great that you're going to want to do it as soon as possible. Okay, so here we go. At what age should they be doing what, right? So at what age is it okay for them to cook over an open flame, right? Okay, so let me just start birth to 1 year of age. And you're probably thinking, what, birth? They can't do anything. No, they can't do anything. But the thing is that if you have them in the kitchen, especially if you are holding them or wearing them as moms do today, I wasn't fortunate enough to have one of the wraps when my kids were younger, but they are all the rage today, and I hope that you have one and that you're carrying your infant around if you have one. And the thing is that if you have your baby in the kitchen, they are going to be aware of the smells and the sounds and all of those things that go on in the kitchen. They're going to know that that's where mom is a lot of the time, and they're going to be wanting to be with you when they are able to walk and do a little bit of talking as well. So it's just really important from the very start to have your baby with you in the kitchen so that they can get used to all of the surroundings. Okay. So from 2 to 5, This is the age that kiddos are going to want to be in the kitchen. You're not going to have to coax them or bribe them or anything like that. They are just going to want to be with you, and isn't that a joy? Okay, this is also the stage that's going to take a little work, but I promise it will be really, really worth it. But we're going to start in the garden. So from 2 to 5, and let me just say before I start going through these age ranges is that the tasks that I'm going to list here, they should be starting to learn it at the younger stage of the range, and then should master it by the older stage. So, because there's some, when we get down into the older age range, you would think, oh, a 12-year-old's not going to be able to do that. No, but they should start learning. So that is what I mean by the range. You should start teaching them how to do this. Right now we're going to look at 2 to 5, and then they should master it by 5. Okay, so from 2 to 5, in the garden, they should be able to carry seed packets. They can definitely give you seed packets. They can dig holes for seeds. Isn't that fun, right? So there'll be a mess, but it'll be okay, because kids love dirt, right? They love to dig in the dirt. And you can dig in the dirt with them here, because it's not only fun, but practical, right? You are planting seeds. Then you should be teaching them at this stage how to pull weeds with supervision, because the thing is that even a 5-year-old is going to maybe think that a plant that you want is a weed. So really, you should be pointing out, okay, well, this is something we don't want in our garden, but this plant is something that we do. So they can start learning not only to be reminded of where you planted something, but also to look at the leaf structure and things like that. So with supervision. And then they should start at this age learning to identify different insects, which ones are bad and which ones are good. Okay, so now we're going to switch to cooking. So we're going to switch to going into the kitchen. So from 2 to 5, they should be able to fetch ingredients. Now, it is true that it would be on the lower shelves, and that's fine. In my kitchen, I have things on the lower shelves that don't break very easily, and then on the higher shelves, I have the things that are more breakable. So that should fit if that's how your kitchen is arranged. If not, you might want to consider arranging it like that. So they should be able to fetch ingredients on those lower shelves. They should be able to wash produce. So they should be able to do things like take off stems and separate different varieties. So they should be able to do that. Of course, they should be able to stir batter and have the ingredients go together. That is a common thing that kids love to do. And so that's one. They should be able to help with the dishes. They should be able to wash plastic dishes or cups and metal, like silverware, things like that. They should be able to do that. They should also be able to organize those lower shelves and lower cabinets. So that would be something that would be a fun thing for them to do, is to tell them that they're in charge of organizing those things. They should also be able to wipe counters with a natural cleaner, and then they should also be able to help set the table. Okay, so that's my list. If I have forgotten anything that your 2 to 5-year-old does, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. And I think other people would too, because we are all learning here in the comments. Like I said, this is one of my favorite times of the week that I get to talk to you and see you guys react and give some information and share some things that are going on with you. Okay, so for 2 to 5 years old, what should they know about preserving? Okay, they should be able to count jars. They should be able to count and measure produce. If you say go and count out 5 peaches, they should be able to do that. And then they should be able to fetch rings and lids and actually be able to count those out for you. And of course, they can taste test. Like if you are making some jam or jelly, that is a fun thing. They can taste test that, and then you can show them how you tell that the jam is ready to be canned and all of that stuff. So you could start showing them that process, and then they can taste it in the meantime. Okay, so let's shift from 2 to 5 to 6 to 10. So now we're getting a little bit older. And so kids can take on a little bit more responsibility. Now, this list does assume that they had been doing these other things up until now. So now they're getting a little bit older, but they've already been in the kitchen. So they should be able to do everything that I've already mentioned. If they haven't been in the kitchen, then maybe going back, and then they would maybe be able to do those things quicker. But go ahead and start with that and then go on to this list. Okay, so in the garden, they should be able to mix and check compost. So they should be able to understand a little bit about what's going on, if it is not doing well or needs to be mixed, if it needs some more brown or some more green. They should be hearing those words at this time and then being able to mix it up a little bit. Remember, I said this was a range, so you would start them at 6 with these concepts, and then by 10 they should have it in the bag, so to speak. They should be able to pull weeds unsupervised. So at that point, they should know the difference between weeds and other plants that you do not want pulled out of your garden. They should start learning how to water. So if you need irrigation in your garden, which most of us do, then they should start understanding how that works and how they can help do that, whether you have a timer or whether you have to run hoses or whatever it is that you have going on in your garden. They should start understanding that. They should learn what to look for when insects invade the garden. So they should be able to sort of look at your plants and tell if they've been invaded by pests. You know, do they have holes in the leaves? Are they wilting? Whatever the case may be, they should start looking at those things and being able to tell you. Then also they should be starting to learn how to prune and cull different plants. If you've started seeds inside, then they would learn which one to cull at that point, or if you're outside, learn how to prune different things. They should probably still need supervision with the pruning, but they're learning how to do that, and by age 10 they should really know how to do that. Okay, and then they're also learning how to identify plants by their leaves. So they should know the difference between a tomato plant and, say, a bean plant, especially if you're starting those plants every year. Now, if you've never started a particular variety or a plant, then of course they're not going to know that. But the ones that you do yearly, they should be starting to understand which ones are which just by looking at the leaves. And then they should be able to harvest vegetables. When it's harvest time, they should be able to go out there, and that's such a fun time to have everybody come out and harvest. But they should be able to do that and know what to look for when things are ripe and ready. Okay, so as far as cooking, ages 6 to 10 again. Okay, they should be starting to learn about cooking in an oven. So they should understand that things are cooked at different temperatures. So they should be starting that journey. Then they should be able to measure out ingredients, and they should also be able to start a grocery list. So if you're in the middle of doing something and you run out, or you've used your last bit of whatever, then they should be able to go and get a piece of paper and start a grocery list. They should be able to plan out dinners the night before and do the prep work before, so that if you have to defrost some meat or you have to mix up something, a marinade, whatever it is, they should be able to do that. They should also be able to help with planning a menu. So if you are one of those menu planners, and I hope you are because it makes things so much easier, then they should be able to help with that. They should be able to understand what your family likes in terms of their favorites and be able to put those things down and know some of the ingredients that go into those meals. Okay, they should be able to wash dishes by hand, not load and unload the dishwasher. That is certainly helpful, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that, but they should understand how to wash dishes by hand in terms of what kind of soap or disinfectant is needed. And also, there are times when the dishwasher is just completely full and you've got overflow. You want to be able to have them wash dishes by hand and understand how to do that to be completely sanitary. Then another thing is you want them to understand how to prep meat and keep surfaces clean. So remember, I said this was an age, so starting at 6 and by 10, they should know these things. Okay, they should be able to make coffee, tea, and lemonade and other drinks that are pretty simple. They should be able to make those. They should be able to set the table, and then they should be able to store leftovers correctly. Then they should learn the ingredients of basic recipes. And I just alluded to that just a second ago when I was talking about menu planning. But if one of their favorite meals is homemade mac and cheese, then they should know what goes into that. And then they should be learning how to knead bread. Okay, so let me know in the comments, let me know if I'm leaving anything out. Also, let me know if you disagree with any of these. Just let me know, because everybody's different. This is a guideline, right? But let me know if you disagree with any of these as well. Okay, so preserving. This is 6 to 10, remember. Okay, they should start to learn what preservation method is best for each food. Now, they probably won't master this by 10, but they should understand that sometimes mom pressure cans and sometimes she water bath cans, depending on what the food is. So they should be, you should start talking about that, and they should be aware of that by this time. They should be able to place food in an organized method in your food storage or pantry. And I don't mean just putting something up after you've used it. I mean, when you're putting food into food storage, they should understand how it's rotated. So they should know your method and how you do things, and then be able to duplicate that in terms of keeping your methods up and the rotation going. Okay, they should be able to determine the amount of jars to be used in canning. So that's kind of a math lesson there, but by the age of 10, you should be able to give them the ingredients, and they should be able to say, that's going to translate to how many jars that we need. Okay, so, and then recognize, like I said before, that there are 2 different canning methods. So by the first one, preservation method, you could say something like, well, are green beans better canned, or are they dehydrated? So that's 2 different preservation methods there. Then also, like I was mentioning, the difference between pressure canning and water bath canning. They might not be sure which is which still, like I said, at that age, but definitely realize that there is a difference. Okay, and then also realize canning should be taken seriously. So there's a definite procedure that mom or dad always follows to go ahead and can certain things, well, everything actually, canning, if you're canning, and that they might not know every step, but they know that mom and dad take that real seriously, and that there is a certain procedure and rules that can't be broken there. Okay, and then they should be able to recognize the different sizes of jars and be able to convert the volume. So in other words, 2 pints equal a quart. They should know that. You should make up maybe some kind of song with all of those conversions in there. But they should know that. Then they should also be able to recognize that the jars, some of them have a regular mouth and some of them have a wide mouth. So they should be noticing those things at that point. Okay, so now we're going to get into the 12 to 18. I'm going to look at some comments here. Hi, Rachel. She says, my twins are not 2 yet, but they love to poke holes for seeds. Yes, and they like to shuck corn. Okay. And your 4-year-old waters plants. Okay. Oh, mixes, batters, and waters plants. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so they can do way more than you think. Then Wendy's saying, each of my kids this year have their own garden space. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to that just a second. Okay. Now, this is age range 12 to 18. And remember what I said. They should be starting these concepts about 8 and then being able to master them at least by 18. Some will master them sooner. Just depends on your kids, because we're all different, right? Now, they should be able to do everything from above. So if you've got a 12-year-old who's never been in the kitchen, then you may need to go back and go through some of the other things, and they'll just progress faster because they're older. So, but definitely start them out with those other simpler things, because we want to set everybody up for success. We don't want anybody to get frustrated or anything like that. Okay, so remember, starting at 12 and then being able to master by 18. So in the garden, they should be able to order seeds. They should be able to start seeds indoors. They should be able to harden off seedlings. So not only would they be able to plant, but they would be able to take them outside and harden them for you. They should be able to prep beds, flower beds or a vegetable garden, whatever the case may be. And here we go, Wendy. They should be able to plan out a section of your garden and grow their own food, right? And then know what foods are native to your area for growing or foraging. And so you might be going, wait a minute, Jennifer, I don't even know all of those things. And so that's a great opportunity to learn with your kiddos. But they should be able to do these things because that's what you're doing. You're setting them up to have them go out and live their life. And not on their own, they'll still have you, but you're setting them up to be able to take care of themselves. So they should know how to do all of these things. Now, let's move to the kitchen. All right, so they should be able to use appliances like a mixer, food processor safely, and they should know all the safety procedures in your kitchen. So they should be able to rattle those off to you and to younger ones as well. Okay, they should be able to cook on a stovetop, including gas. They should know all of the rules that go with that and all of the safety procedures and all of the emergency procedures that might come with an accident. So that is something that they should be able to do. They should be able to cook an entire meal from scratch, including things like bone broth, and be able to make bread. It doesn't have to be fancy, but they should be able to do that, and they should know the steps to getting those things done. They should be able to plan out a week's worth of food. They should be able to menu plan. Then they should be able to take that plan and go to the store and stay in budget, right? Then they should also understand how to compensate for people who may have some dietary restrictions. So that's a lot, right? Because not all of us can do every single one of these things, and or sometimes we fall off the wagon or whatever, but they should know how to do all these things. It's not about perfection. They don't have to do it like exactly perfectly all the time, but they definitely need to know the different steps it takes to get these things done, because that's what we're doing, right? We are raising them to be able to do all these things and take care of themselves. Okay, so preserving 12 to 18 years old. Okay, so like I said, at 18, they should be able to do these. They should understand the difference between dehydrating, fermenting, and canning. They should understand what those things are and the different methods that you go through to get those things done, and which foods are better suited for which preserving method. And that would depend a lot on how your family likes to eat certain foods. They should also understand which foods need to be pressure canned and which foods need to be water bath canned. They should also understand how to store different foods. So do you take the thing that you bought and put it in a Mylar bag? Do you have to can it? Do you have to dehydrate it? How are you going to store whatever it is that you have bought, whatever food that's come into the house? How do you store that? They should understand the process, and they should know how it is best stored. And then they should be able to lay out a plan and know or tell you how much to grow or buy to feed your family for an entire year. Okay, so that's a big order, right? To start, teaching that to 12-year-olds. But I really believe that that is something that a lot of people are missing these days. We don't all know how to do this. And so if we as parents take that up and teach our kids, then they're going to be that much better off. Okay, so how to get them to actually do this. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I did not forget any of my notes here. How to get them to actually do this. Okay, so, and I think I did forget some. Okay, so, yeah, let me really quick, because I wanted to go over a few other things here. I wanted to give some purpose behind that. Okay, so if I have forgotten anything, please let me know in the comments. And if you agree with everything I've said, let me know in the comments. Like I said, if I've forgotten, if you disagree with anything, let me know in the comments. Okay, and so I skipped a little bit of a section here, so let me go back over that. And that is, why should kids help in the kitchen anyway? So I sort of got ahead of myself by going through the different things that people should, or kids should be doing at different ages. But let me I'll step backward and go over the why. Okay, some of the things we've already covered, but I just want to give you some perspective, because it's like, well, gosh, that's a tall order to teach my kids all those things. So let me give you some why behind it. Okay, well, we've covered this one, kitchen safety. Everybody should know kitchen safety, right? They should know how to handle themselves in the kitchen. They should also know how to handle themselves in a case of an emergency. Okay, then the other thing is that you spend a good amount of time in the kitchen, and so it's time well spent with your kids, right? So you're teaching them, you're just bonding with them, and so that is time well spent teaching your kids. Okay, so also, the sooner you start, the less time you're going to need to spend later on teaching them how to do these things. So even though it's a little bit of a struggle to go ahead and teach those 2 to 5-year-olds, it's just going to be so worth it in the end. The other thing is, kids have ownership over what they're doing, right? If they're cooking something and they're making it, they own that, right? And they're more likely to eat things that they might not eat otherwise, or maybe they didn't like it in the beginning, so they decide that they're going to try it because they made it, right? Okay, we covered this one too. Establish procedures. So if you establish procedures in your kitchen and expectations, then your kids are less likely to fight you later on down the line. And I know if those of you that have little ones, you're like, that's not going to happen. But it does. It does. When you get teenagers, it does. I mean, everybody's different, right? And I'm not suggesting that your kid's going to fight you for no reason, or suggesting that I know your situation. But, we're all human, and we all have bad days. Sometimes we have, phases that we go through and things like that. And so the thing is that if you set the habits up early, then kids are just going to do it because it's a habit. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to bargain with them or anything like that. If it's a habit, they're just going to do it because they've always done it, right? And that's just a win-win for you. Okay. The other thing is that to have kids help in the kitchen, they're going to learn a lot about nutrition. And that's important these days, because there is a lot of things out in the world that are labeled as food, and they're just not good to eat. They're not good for you. They cause a multitude of health problems, and they could even cause some attention problems, attention deficit. So the thing is that if they understand nutrition at an early age, they're going to make better choices as they go through their life. Now, the thing is that in those teenage years and early 20s, a lot of kids will experiment and do things that weren't done at home and all of that sort of thing. But they've done studies, and by the time that your kids settle down, 30, 35, they usually come back to the habits that they grew up with. So if your kids are in that stage where they're eating things you would never allow them to eat at home, rest assured that they will come back to that. Hopefully, most of the time. Okay, then also by having them help in the kitchen, because remember, we're growing, cooking, and preserving, they're going to learn about preparedness. And you are just that much better off when you understand how to be prepared for whatever comes your way. So that is the big plus. Then here's another one, and that is tradition. Because the things that are in the kitchen, growing, cooking, preserving, they're all traditional, and they are the thing that binds us to our grandparents and connects the generations. So I'm one of the ones that thinks that's important. And then the last one, probably the biggest one you want to set them up with, especially when they're younger, is that they learn how to save money, because it saves money when you cook from scratch. You're going to save money, and you're also going to save money when you grow your own food and preserve it. And then, like I said, the nutritional value in those things just skyrocket because it's organically grown and you're preserving it without chemicals. So those are the reasons that kids should help in the kitchen. Kind of got those backwards there, but I hope that it still made sense. Okay, so here's a big question. How to get them to actually help if they haven't been helping. Okay, thank you, Shelley. She said, this is great. We really need to teach our children this, as I feel that if there was a natural disaster, yes, a situation where kids need to know and take care of themselves. That's right. And the thing is, God forbid anything would happen to you or your husband, or if you're a husband watching this, or your wife. But if you're setting your kids up really young to understand these different things and to actually have them do these different things, then if you are not there for whatever reason, if you're ill or you're just away or something does happen, God forbid, that they would have these things already as a habit and ingrained in them. And also, they would carry those things with them, as they go through life, and that would be a part of you. Okay, so how to actually get them in there to help? Well, like I said, when they're little, we just have to say, hey, you want to go in the kitchen and we'll do this or do that, and they're just happy to follow you no matter what, because it's just fun to be with mom or dad in the kitchen. Okay, so then when they get a little older, it goes back to setting up habits, routines, procedures, and if they understand that this is just the way your family works, then they're going to be more apt to help you and not put up a fight. And it just depends. If you start young, like I said, your kids will probably never ever put up a fight. If they are, and by fight, I don't mean like a fist fight. I mean just a little bit of resistance, like, oh, Mom, I don't really want to do that today, or I was going to go do this and that, and I wasn't going to be in the kitchen, that sort of thing. So if they're doing that, then, you need to start with forming habits. So have them in the kitchen just a little bit each day, not marathon cooking sessions or canning sessions or anything like that, but just have them do one simple thing every day. And then once they've got that down as a habit, add a second thing, and then a third thing. And then, pretty soon that they will be doing a fair amount in the kitchen. Okay. And here is something that you may need to do. It is a little bit radical, but I've never seen it fail. Okay, so if you are at that point where you just haven't, for whatever reason, haven't gotten them in the kitchen, and they are 14, 15, and 16, and they are saying, oh, Mom, I was going to do this and that, I don't have time for that, Mom, or whatever. Okay, and they don't know how to cook. We're assuming that they haven't been in the kitchen. Then, you just walk out of the kitchen. Just walk out and let them eat sandwiches, scrambled eggs. Maybe they can make scrambled eggs. Just let them eat that. And I promise, I've never seen it fail, that when people have done that, it may take a week, it may take a month, it may take a little time, but they will be coming to you saying, hey, Mom, I'd be happy to help you cook whatever. Please teach me how to cook whatever. And so that's a little radical, but I promise I've never seen it fail. Like I said, there's a little warning. It may take a few days, few weeks, maybe a month in some stubborn cases there. But like I said, I've never seen it fail. If they're not willing to help, then just walk out of the kitchen. Just walk out. Okay, so Let me know in the comments if you agree with all of these things I've said or some of the things. Let me know if you disagree with anything, and then let me know if I've forgotten anything, because I've just had a list. These are the things that came to mind when I was thinking about my kids, my boys, and how I got them in the kitchen. But if you have a different method, a different way of bringing your kiddos into the kitchen, please let me know in the comments. And I want to let you guys know that we do teach growing, canning, and dehydrating courses inside Self-Reliant School. And these classes would be great for a homeschool curriculum, because we go through step by step. There's printables with every lesson. And so if you are homeschooling, and even if you're not, even if your kids are in school but they're maybe off for the summer and you would like some help in the kitchen, then they can definitely sign up for the membership and have all of these classes at their fingertips, and the written materials as well. I have to share something with you really quick before I let you go, and that is that my younger one, he actually had been going into the membership and looking at Mom, because I'm on the videos, right, doing that. Bill is on some of them, but Mom's on the cooking ones, right, and dehydrating, canning. And so he's gone in there to look to see exactly what he needs to be doing at certain points in his recipe. So I'm teaching him through the video, right, but I'm with him in the kitchen as well. But I just thought that was a fun kind of thing to share with you guys, because my kids have taken advantage of that. So I know that your kids would benefit from it as well. Okay, and you can go to selfreliantschool.com/membership if you would like to learn more about that. Okay, so with that said, remember, being self-reliant isn't about you. It isn't about being selfish or any of that sort of thing. It's about taking care of yourself so you can take care of the ones that you love. Take care until we talk again. I'm so glad you could join me today. Here's what to do next. Head over to selfreliantlife.tv to pick up the show notes for this episode and to watch replays of older episodes. To go directly to the show notes for this episode, go to selfreliantlife.tv, and then without a space, type a / and then the number of today's episode. You can watch this show live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, live on Facebook or the Periscope app. Don't forget to stop by selfreliantschool.com/free to get your free Self-Reliant School videos that will help you get started living a self-reliant life. Also, if you're listening to this show as a podcast and you've liked what you've heard today, please subscribe through Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast app. If you're on a mobile device, just search for the Self-Reliant Living Show. If you're on a laptop or desktop, just go to selfreliantlife.tv/iTunes. And while you're there, please leave a review. I love to hear from you. You leaving feedback makes it easier for others that are interested in living a self-reliant life to find my podcast. Take care until we talk again.